Hey, what's up guys? Brandon here at Midnight Customs. Today we're going to do a proper review on Arccaptain's MIG145 PRO series flux core welder. They sent me this. We're going to do a review on it. We're going to check out all the things. But up first, I'm going to show you what comes in the box. So, what you get in this box when you order this machine is you get the welder itself. You get your MIG gun, your arc weld stinger, stick weld, and your ground clamp. You also get a few extra consumables. You got your tips and your nozzle, and you got a 030 and a 035 in there, plus the one that's already in the gun. And they are giving us now the setup guide, which shows arc welding, lift TIG, and MIG. So MIG welding and flux core welding are not the same, just to clear that up. But you also get this fancy bag and a carrying strap. The helmet and the gloves are something you have to purchase extra. You also do have to order the lift TIG torch separately. Not a big deal. We're going to go through these two processes today, and this is what's in the bag. And also on the back side of this little package here, you get some fancy stickers, and you also have your user manual in this thing. So this is what comes in the box. Let's get into it. Okay, so inside here is your spool holder and drive mechanism. Here's your tensioner, and you just make sure you don't have too much tension on here that it doesn't want to feed, but you don't want it too loose that this comes unraveled inside here. And so what you want to do is, when you're setting this part up, is pull this piece out, hold this tight with your finger in here, or you can put a piece of tape on it. You don't want that to unravel. Feed it through here. This is your tensioner, but you just pop this open, feed this through here into there. Make sure you have your drive roller on the correct one. This has a V-grooved roller for 0.9 millimeter on this side, because that's what we're running, and 0.8 millimeter on the back side. And then all you do is you feed it through there, close that, put that up there, and you can adjust your tension with this here. And then what you'll do is turn the machine on, and you'll pull the trigger on the torch, and this will start to feed. And once it realizes that it's feeding and not welding, this will pick up the speed and really run it through your torch. And that way you'll have your stick out like that. It'll come out quite a bit. You just take your pliers and clip it off to the proper stick out. So just know that when you're looking at this machine, it's wired for 110. Now they have bigger machines that'll do 110 and 220, and they come with an adapter where the machine has the 220 plug hardwired to the machine, and then you have a 110 adapter. But this machine only does 110. So if you got a plug outlet that's got a 20 or 25 amp breaker for a 110 plug, you're going to do just fine. Won't have any issues tripping the breaker. I know I haven't, and I ran this thing full bore at its max 145 amps. So, and it welds really nicely. It actually welds really nicely. All right, we got the machine plugged in. You can hear the fan running, and it's got a cooling tunnel. The fan's on the back, and it blows it out through these louvers here. So now we are currently in wire feed mode, or flux core welding. So here's your mode button. They'll take you to your stick welding feature or arc welding. Here is your lift TIG mode. I do not have a TIG torch for this machine, or just in general I don't have a TIG torch, so we're not going to go through that one today. But you can adjust your amps right here. So we're going back to the wire feed setting. This button lets you choose your wire diameter. Currently we have it set at 0.035, that's the size wire that's in the machine. It'll go all the way up to 0.040, and then if you're going to be running different diameter wire, one thing I want to point out is these little tips. You'll have to use the corresponding one. Let me pull this out and get you a better. Alright, so I don't know if you can see that with the glare. There you go. This tip is for 030 point, excuse me, 0.030 wire. And this other one here, if it'll focus, is for 0.035. There you go. 0.035. Now, with that being said, you get one of these, and this is kind of like a gas lens diffuser cover camouflage. This one's particularly is set up for actual MIG welding. Even though this is called a MIG145, this is actually a flux core welder. MIG welding uses gas. This does not use gas, but you do want to have this over this piece here. And what that does is it protects you from touching your workpiece. One second here. It protects this whole section from touching your workpiece, because if you say you're welding against something and you touch this as you pull the trigger, this is going to conduct, and you're going to touch that, pull the trigger, and it's going to short out this machine, and then it's pretty much crap after that. So like I said, this particular cover is used for actual MIG welding with gas. You can get a plastic cover that just covers this, and like I said, again, all it does is protect you from shorting your machine out if you're welding in close spaces to something else, like you're welding in a T-joint or an angle or whatever. That way you don't hit this and short out your machine and fry it. You could even put electrical tape around it, but realistically, the ones that come with it are just fine. Now, flux core welding, if you're new to it, makes a lot of dust from the flux boiling out of the inside of the weld. And you just want to make sure that you keep this clean. Clean off your spatter and your, little BBs or whatever. You can spray this with anti-weld spatter. It'll keep stuff from sticking to it. Or you can go down to your welding supply shop or Amazon, what have you, and get a, it's called nozzle gel. And you just dip this in there and before you start welding, and it keeps any of the little BBs or wire that burns back and breaks off from sticking to this. Just keeps everything clean and running smooth, so you have less downtime of cleaning the crud off. Now, a lot of people think that flux core welding is dirty welding. This is not stick welding, where the stick welding electrode is encased in flux that you have to chip away after the weld is done. When you flux core wire weld, you don't chip nothing away. There's nothing to chip away. The flux is down inside the wire. I don't know if it's going to focus on it. Anyway, just imagine this is the wire. Okay, this copper piece is the wire. You see that hole in there? The flux is inside the middle of that hole. And so when you're welding, it's boiling the flux core back out. So as you're welding, the flux is burning, doing its shielding job, and it's coming back out. And that's why you end up with dust, flux dust like this. And all you do is you take a wire brush or a wire wheel on your drill and clean it off. And that's all you got to do. There's no chipping away of anything. And it doesn't create a dirty weld. You're not going to have porosity in it. It does a fine job, and flux core welding is very strong. When I very first started, all I had was flux core wire. I didn't have gas, so I didn't have the money to go buy the bottle. The bottles are expensive. The gas is relatively inexpensive. And so that's what I used, and it welded fantastically. Also, make sure you have a good welding helmet. You want to get one that goes up to at least a 13. So, and the reason for that is when you are flux core welding, the arc on flux core wire is a very bright white arc. It's a lot brighter than MIG welding. When you're MIG welding with solid core wire with gas, it's a really cool blue, like not cool as in cool looking, but like a cool temperature blue. And that will also burn your eyeballs. But flux core welding, it's a very bright white arc. And so you want to make sure that your welding hood goes at least to a 13. Protect your eyes. Absolutely protect your eyes. So, and make sure you wear your PPE. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's personal protective equipment. Make sure you got your gloves, something that's not going to burn and melt to your skin. Long gauntlet leather gloves work great. I actually have a thick leather apron for welding that I wear when I'm doing stick or flux core. And just be careful and have fun. So now we are going to break out some test pieces of steel, and we are going to go through this. And on the screen, so we're going to go back to 035 because that's what we're running. So on your function mode, this is actually your material thickness, and you can go down to 0.03 inch. all the way up to 0.21, and I don't know what that actually translates into, but just for giggles, we'll hit the function button again, and there you go, it sets your amps. Now we push it, let's say we'll go back down to 0.09, and there we are, it's at 92, and it takes a lot of guesswork out of it. And this is also a great reference chart, like I mentioned earlier. This is not the law. These are guidelines. So this gives you a starting point, and then what you do is you come back to this and you can adjust your settings up or down from 40 amps all the way up to 145. So we're going to set this at 100 for right now. And one thing I want to point out is this has a very, very clear and large, easy to read screen. Makes it really, really nice. So I know a lot of the other welders out there have letters on them. I've never used one of those. I've just seen other guys using them, and I'm sure they come with a chart and all that sort of jazz. But this is what I'm familiar with, because this is what I started out with, was a digital welder. So I really like this. Very user-friendly, very easy to read. So now let's get into doing some test pieces here, and we'll get the camera set up and we'll show you how it does. All right, so here's the welds. $135 amp welds. These three are at 145, and these two are at 145 amps. Now, this is still super hot. But as you can see, we've got good penetration. So, out of this little 145 amp machine. And something else you can get from Arccaptain is a little sheet metal, or not sheet metal gauge, but it does sheet metal. You can get a gauge. And it's got from 24 gauge up to 5/16, and then that looks like a wire gauge down there. Yeah, it is. It's a wire gauge for your welding wire. We just welded 1/4 inch plate. Laid all these out. And again, note the penetration. This machine's real fancy. It's got 3 processes. So I talked about that earlier. And we are going to check out the stick welding, arc welding function. So these are what your DIN connectors look like. And I believe Well, this one's rated for 200 amp. So you got all your different numbers on there, part numbers, what have you. So it just goes in one way. You see that little keyway on the bottom there. Put it in. Actually, we're doing this backwards. We're doing DC electrode positive. Your positive is up here. Your negative is down here. And if you look inside the negative, because flux core wire welds electrode negative. So your wire feed, your MIG torch would go into the negative slot. And your ground cable goes into the positive, for those that don't know. So, they have different style electrodes or sticks for welding. Some are DC electrode negative. Most of them are positive, and there's a lot that can weld both polarities. So, we're going to weld positive. Got that. Check. Got our ground clamp. Same style connector. You can see that little keyway right there. 200 amp rated also. So pop her in there. Give her a quarter turn. Locks in. Now, let's go grab some sticks. So, what we're going to be using is E7018, 3/32. And we'll try that out on that 1/4 inch plate. And we'll see how this little machine does with a 3/32 rod. Actually pretty nice. They've got a real good spring retention on them, good clamping force. So, we got the table grounded. So for those of you that don't know, the 7018 is kind of tricky. It welds really nice. They don't like to restart and they stick a lot. I currently have the machine turned up to 100 amps and it's stuck. Best way to fix this, release it from your electrode or your stinger, give it a second to cool, comes right off. right here on the 3 passes, and on the 5 passes here we got 100 amp. So these are my screw ups here, trying to get that electrode to start. 90 amp 3 passes, 5 passes at 100. That's 1/4 inch plate. Grab a glove here and we'll show you a close-up of the backside. I'd say she does pretty good. Alright folks, in closing on this review, the Arccaptain MIG145 PRO, Flux core welder, stick welder, lift TIG welder, is a very nice smooth running machine. I do like it a lot. For the price point, it's a pretty good deal. You get a package. You can add the TIG torch to the package. I do not have the TIG torch. Arccaptain sent me this to review for them, and it works great. I've got no complaints about it, and it's great for a beginner, DIYer, hobbyist, what have you. Even if you're a pro and you're just looking for something lightweight and portable to pack in your truck, and you want to go do a job for a customer, weld up a trailer, a fence, what have you, whatever your welding needs are. Very good entry-level welder. I give this thing 2 thumbs up, and you get a pretty good deal. If you're interested in this, I'm going to leave a link to Arccaptain with a discount code, but you can also go direct to their website and check out this machine as well as many other of their awesome machines. I have a few of them, and I've got no complaints. Really good product, looks good, performs very well, and it's very budget friendly. So if you want to learn, or you want to practice some more, or you just want to get into it and not break the bank, check them out. Also, their flux core wire is a very smooth running wire. And safety note, not on this machine, but just welding in general. If you're running stick or flux core wire, make sure you're in a well ventilated area, or have a fan blowing. Get an exhaust fan, or wear a respirator that's rated for welding. So I give this machine 2 thumbs up. I really like it. They make a good product. Their welding helmets are very nice, very affordable. And if you're going to do flux core or stick welding, make sure you get one that goes at least to a DIM 13. The flux core arc and stick welding arc is much brighter than MIG welding, for those of you that do not know. I'm Brandon. This is Midnight Customs. Hit the like button, subscribe, drop me a comment, let me know what you think, and go check these guys out. They make a great affordable product. Works really good. I'm very happy with it. Thank you.